What is up, dudes? This is the 1 year review on the CBR650R. Let's get into it. Yeah, so getting into my 1 year review of this bike. I've owned this bike for about just over a year now, and it's time I can talk about it and kind of complete my kind of videos explaining everything about this bike. Starting off the comfort, perfect. If you're commuting, basically doing anything really apart from off-road, it's fairly comfortable. 6'4", 193 centimeters, I think, yeah. Weigh about 97 kilos, and this bike is fine. I don't get too uncomfortable. Only around the 3 hour riding mark I start to get a bit uncomfortable, but yeah, mostly fine. Very comfortable for a sport bike. It's hard to class this bike as whether it's a sport tour or a super sport. I don't think it's either. It's just a sport bike on its own. It could do either one of those things. It's not fantastic at any one thing, but it's good overall. So if you want something that you can take to the track, you can commute with, take to the twisties, it does it all. In terms of power on the roads, it is an inline four, so all the power is mostly up top. However, there is a decent amount of torque for this bike. Being that it is a 650 and not a 600, it's got a little bit lower down torque than a 600 does. However, nowhere near the top speed. But yeah, it's very capable down low. The twin cylinders are always going to beat it off the line. That's just how it is. Around the twisties, yeah, it's very capable. It's a bit heavy. It just depends on what you're used to. I'm used to a bit of heavy bikes, so it doesn't bother me that much. If anything, I find it a bit more stable. The only problem you're going to find with the weight is when you're transitioning from corner to corner. So if you've got a left-hander here and you've got to jump to the right and you're really hammering it, that's when the weight becomes a bit of an issue. But when you're in a fast corner, it holds its line very well. You don't have any issues. Brakes, mostly fine for commuting. Once you start pushing it on the twisties at the track, you're going to notice some brake fade, and that's something that can be fixed. It's mostly to do with the master cylinder and maybe the brake lines, but it is a bit of an expensive upgrade, so it depends whether you think it's worth it or not. Yeah, it depends how much you're pushing it, but yeah, once you start pushing it corner to corner, that's when you start finding the brake fade to start to come in. In terms of the quick shifter, this bike does not come stock with a quick shifter. That is an optional extra, as well as the heated grips. They have modules on the screen for those things. They're not too expensive for the quick shifter, but I would highly recommend it. It just makes this bike just a little bit more fun. It's got that fun factor. Quick shifters are not a must. They just make you shift faster without the clutch. For anyone that doesn't know what a quick shifter is, it allows you to keep the throttle on without touching the clutch and shift like that. When you're racing, it is a little bit faster, but for the most part on the streets, you're not racing all the time, but it is fun to have. It's just a comfort feature and a racing feature. And when you get moments like when you're pulling off the lights and you just do this, it's kind of cool. When you get the right RPM, it does a little pop because there's still fuel going into the engine. So it's quite cool. Rideability, very nice. It's got a nice big RPM range, not as high as the 600s. However, there's a lot of power. There's a lot of road power, usable power. It's a bike that you don't need much more power than this. You really don't, unless you like racing on the highways all the time. That's the only time you're going to be like, nah, you need more power. In terms of if you come to the twisties, you commute to work, you commute to school, whatever it is, it's more than enough power. You don't need more than this. The only negatives of the bike is when you start to push it, and that's when you start to see, okay, yeah, it's a bit heavy, yeah, there's the brake fade, yeah, there's the suspension. I'll get into suspension too. The suspension is non-adjustable on the front. You can set the preload on the back, and that's about it. For a heavier dude, you're going to notice the suspension is way too soft. I've set the preload pretty much maxed out on the back, and I've got it to a stage where I'm comfortable on the back, but on the front, it's way too soft. Like, I notice it a lot, it dives a lot. That's definitely something that needs to be upgraded or fixed in later models. But it's not noticeable when you're commuting. Like, when you're commuting, you're chilling out. Like here, I'm not noticing it as much. It's once I start pushing, that's when it's a problem. And everyone's different. Everyone's gonna get this bike for different reasons. It just depends what you're getting it for. If you live in a country like Australia where lambs bikes are a thing, it's a great bike if you actually really wanted a 600. This is the closest thing you're going to get for a lambs bike. I'm not saying it is a 600, but it's the closest thing you're going to get. And that's what I wanted. And unfortunately, I had to get a lambs bike. Even though I'd been racing dirt bikes, I had to get a lambs bike, and I wanted a 600 and I couldn't. So yeah, that's why I went for this. It's the only bike on the market that has an inline 4 for the lambs category. So yeah, very cool. In terms of the quick shifter, it's only a quick shifter going up. It's not a quick shifter going down. Well, you can still shift down, it just doesn't have an auto blipper. It's no ride-by-wire, it's still a cable throttle, so you still got to adjust that every now and then. It gets a bit of slack. It's not the end of the world, but that means no power modes, nothing like that. The only thing you can change on the fly is this traction control. So if you hold down this button, you'll see there, traction control disabled, and that's all traction control gone. You can't turn the ABS off on the fly. If you're wanting to get into sports bike, you want to see if this is your thing, it's a great bike to start on. In terms of styling, it's a beautiful bike. They've really made it look more and more like a sport bike over the years. It started off as looking more like a sports tourer on the 650F, and as the years have gone, they've slowly made it look more and more like a sport bike, and that's what we like to see. This bike shines when you take it to places like this. This is where you really start to just see what this bike is and what it can do. The sound is just amazing. Like, just listen to that. Even on low RPMs, it's amazing. When you get it up there and it's screaming, beautiful. When you get it leaned over, it's even better. That's where this bike shines, man. And this bike can lean very capably. It's very capable. With that weight, it actually holds that line very well. You don't feel like it's going to fall over. You do have to pull it in to the corner, but yeah, it's awesome. Cannot complain. Cannot recommend this bike enough. It is a bit pricey on the LEMS and A2 license list. There's a lot cheaper bikes out there. However, I don't think any other bike, even just having the character of the inline 4 is just amazing, and it's got that fun factor. Yeah, it's a bit impractical. It doesn't have the usable power that other bikes do have, as all the power's up top, but it's just a bike that puts a smile on your face. It either does it for you or it doesn't. And for me, that was obsessed with inline 4s as a kid. This bike is what I wanted, you know, and it's living up to that. It still does today. Every time I get on the throttle, it just makes me smile, and there's nothing better than an inline 4, really. But this bike shines in stuff like this. This is the best places to take it. You're really going to have the most fun when you're out here riding through the twisties and doing your thing. Yeah, that's when this bike shines, and I can't recommend that enough. Stunting, not the best. It can do stoppies. I've done stoppies even with the ABS on. Not rolling stoppies or anything crazy, but you can stuff around with it. You can have some fun. But in terms of if you're getting it for stunting, not a good idea. There's better bikes out there, MTO7, stuff like that. That's going to be better for stunting. If you go into the track, go into the twisties, it's better. In the twisties like this bike's amazing. You can get really leaned over like crazy. Just go watch Jigsaw, bro. He'll show you what this bike can do. He's just the weapon on everything, apparently. Yeah, so I think I've summed it all up. Perfect bike. There's nothing really more I can say. It just depends what you're after. If you're after something you can commute with and still take to the track, take to the twisties, perfect bike.